Welcome to FacingMelsMusic.com podcast, featuring some of the most heartwarming stories from musicians all around the world on FacingMelsMusic.com.
And welcome to Facing Mel's Music. This is your host, Mel Golding, and I have a fabulous guest star for this evening, L.E. Black. Welcome.
Yes. Hi, how's it going?
Amazing. Where are you actually calling from?
I'm calling from New York City.
Ooh.
Yes, the Bronx in particular.
Okay.
Yes, calling straight from the home of hip hop.
Oh, fantastic. And I take it you were brought up there, is that right?
Yes. I was raised here, and I also was raised upstate New York, which is like 3 hours away. But it's people like to, to separate it. Like upstate to upstate, New York City is down here. It's very big separation in that. So I want to make that
interesting. Because I mean, us lot over here in England, I don't think we really know. We just see New York as one great big place, and it's just all it's all the same, So yeah, that's really interesting. So So okay, so you're a rap artist and you're doing really well. You've got an album out. Are you working on anything new currently?
Yes, I'm working on my second. Matter of fact, my second album is coming out on February 4th, called First and Blessed. It's more of a commercial rap album because I feel like I've always been very dedicated to my main core while working on versatile music, but this is like a commercial rap album. So, where you're going to hear different melodies, you're going to hear it be very melodic, and it's going to surprise people that have been listening to me for a while and new people. So, yeah.
That sounds really exciting. Sounds like you're venturing out, trying some new things then.
Yes,
really cool.
But I've always been versatile, but, I feel like now is the perfect time. I feel like because ever since I released my first album called Born to Lose, Built to Win, some people liked it. They liked the versatility on there, but they were just like, what would it be like to hear you on some commercial of like today's music? So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make my second album like that, but still also sprinkle in my storytelling and my soulful core genre,
Yes, very interesting. It's funny you say that because I'm particularly interested in that about, and I read something in your information about making hits, the difference between your real authentic self and what you want to write and perform, comparing it kind of to the commercial world as well. So it sounds like there's a little bit of adapting going on, but you're still sprinkling a little bit of, a lot of your authenticity through your stories.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. And that's, I feel like as an artist, that's one of the battles like we have, especially when you're independent and when you're in the industry in general. It's like you're trying to figure out if I should just not only just stick to my core, but should I cater to this? Or, sometimes you lose yourself and you just got to get back and be like, you know what, let me just adapt to this, but also let people know that this is my true self.
Yes.
When you listen to here, like you can tell the difference.
Oh, 100%. I'm in complete agreement. And this is a real battle, isn't it, for artists in general? When you think about that battle between the authentic self and what they want to do compared to what the expectations are in the commercial world. And it seems to be an ongoing battle, and it's about getting that balance right. So it feels like you've been working on getting that balance right to keep yourself in there, but give them a bit of what they want too. So it feels like you're succeeding with that, actually. So,
and it also, and that's the thing I like that what I do is that, that's why I tell people at first, like my core genre is hip hop soul, but overall I'm a versatile rap artist, I'm just a fan of music in general, like all genres, or like if sounds, like even when I hear sounds from birds in the morning, so it's like I'm very sensitive and have a good ear aware of like just music in general. So that's why I always feel like, and then with rhythm and poetry, I feel like you can tap into all types of genres with
Yeah.
that. It's just that people don't expand or become open minded to that. And
Mm.
in practice too,
Mm.
because when you rehearse and practice, and you will get better at it, because some people can't do versatile, but if they work on it, study and work on how they can adapt to it, I feel like they can do those type of songs here and there.
Mm. That sounds like amazing advice, actually, that you're giving. It feels like you're giving some advice here, actually, to maybe the younger rappers who want to come onto the scene. And that sounds like, yeah, absolutely. It's great. So let's go to that, actually. I'm interested because you started really young, didn't you? You got into
Yes.
music. You were really young. You were what, 14, 15 years of age?
Yes, yes. When
Right.
I first started, really started like writing music was like 14 years old, but like it wasn't until like 15 where I was like, yeah, I'm into music. So it was 14 and 15. Yep, correct.
Really, really cool. So, and I also read about your love for basketball as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love basketball. I love
Yeah.
sports in general. I feel like that's one thing about me is that like,
Right.
I become a fan of like, well, not saying every single thing is like my favorite or anything,
Yeah.
but I try to look at like different perspectives and be like, how can
Mm.
this person like this or like soccer? The next thing you know, I find myself like
Hmm.
in soccer or like football,
Yeah.
So, but basketball was definitely one of my dreams.
Yeah. Mm.
Growing up, definitely was good at it. Just dealing with real life at that age.
Yes.
You know, so I've took
Yeah.
the path of music, but I always felt like music was in my soul the
Mm.
whole entire time. Whether I would have, continue with basketball or not, I felt like music was always going to be there because I always was a fan before artists.
Mm. I'm wondering, actually, it sounds like it won your heart over, the music, more so. Obviously, it was great. You enjoyed doing the basketball, but it won your heart over the music. Would you say it had more of a healing, therapeutic effect than perhaps basketball? Was there differences with that? What was the
Mm.
difference?
Uh, First and foremost, good question. I like, looking back at it,
Yeah.
it definitely makes uh more sense of why I've took this path because it was more therapeutic for me.
Yeah.
I feel like it was more therapeutic than basketball. It's crazy that this is my first time admitting that, but it's very true, because
Mm.
music is something that's like can
Mm.
touch internally, even though basketball is therapy too.
Mm.
I'm not gonna, diminish that,
Mm.
but music just hits a little different. It
Mm.
brings out the best in you. You can sit with music all night. Like you can literally like different sounds, different,
Yeah.
samples, different,
Mm.
voices. It's
Mm.
just, or just the instrumental. It speaks loud.
Yeah.
Enough,
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I guess I mean, I always see it as a two-way communication as well. I mean, it's healing for you, it's also healing for the listener as well, the person who's receiving it or the people who are
Yeah,
receiving it. So there's this
yeah,
kind of duality of a process going on, which is fascinating, actually.
yes,
Um,
definitely.
yeah. And looking back, when you were 14 and 15 years of age, I also read that you lost all hope in your teen life. That's something that was written down here. Can
Mhm.
can you talk and elaborate a little bit more about losing hope in your teen life? What was going on for you then?
Um, I always had like was dealing with battles. That's why like my next album is called Curse and Blessed because throughout my whole life I always felt cursed and blessed. But specifically when I was like in my teens, I was
Mm.
going through traumatic situations. Me and my dad start going through situations which
Right.
led to me getting kicked out. He chose the woman over me at that time. Then my
Okay.
mother wasn't around, so she
Okay.
never was around. So like for me, it was just a lot of that going on, being
Yeah.
homeless, living in different houses, trying to make ends meet, and also trying to finish high school. So And while I'm going to school, I'm looking at the clock and be like, oh, I don't even know where my next meal's gonna come from, or stuff like that. Just those
Wow.
trials and tribulations that early was just,
Yeah. Yeah.
like a definitely like a
Yeah.
mental hit, So
Yeah.
I think
Mm.
that's what I was meaning. Not think I know. That's what I was meaning about like losing hope. Like I would try to still write, go into like studios once in a while, like but also dealing with reality of like, dang, why am I dealing with this so early? When
Yeah.
I see a lot of other people around me that got found a foundation, at least probably not like
Yeah.
100% equal opportunity, but they still have
Yeah.
foundation to
Yeah.
to start on. So
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
The music
Yes.
also saved me. So it's like
Yes. Yes.
it's two battles. It's like I lost hope in
Yeah.
music, and I still have those battles to this day of like,
Mm,
all right, should I do this still?
mm,
Am I too late? Or you
mm,
just always have those thoughts in the back of your head. But
mm,
overall, like this is
mm,
like you.
mm.
This is something special, for life. That's the
Yeah.
great thing about music.
It really is. It really is. That's quite inspiring. It's very inspiring. I mean, it sounds like you had it pretty tough, and it is. It's. I guess when you're that young and you see other people also the same age, sometimes they're not. They're just say they look like they're sailing through life and they've got it a lot easier. It's a really hard thing to cope with, isn't it? I mean, it's very
Yes.
hard, and the questions must be, why me? And I think you just mentioned that. Why am I going through this at such a young
Right.
age? So
Right.
it sounds like you are very resilient, and it sounds like you found your strength through your music, and you found your therapeutic outlet also through your songs. So your songs, your writing, you put a lot into that. There's something here about performing. I mean, do you obviously enjoy performance, don't you?
Yes, I
Right.
do, and I miss it so bad.
Right. Okay.
It's funny you bring that up because my last and first
Yeah.
time performing
Yeah.
within this last year
Yeah.
was the last day of summer 2021, which was
Right.
like spring. And then this song I collaborated with my friend Sensei.
Hmm.
He a collaborator of mine that I met through Instagram. So we performed at like this nice Spanish club.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, because we collaborated on one of those type of records, for all the Spanish people and people that just love that type of music in general.
Great.
But it felt very good. And then after
Yeah.
it was done, I was like, this, wait, I'm ready to go back again. So like, yeah, I
Yeah.
like performing. I was in 2018, 2019. I was like flying to like Miami to
Wow.
California to LA by myself, not even knowing people, just like going out there to perform. And I performed the Studio City. I got like different videos on my YouTube channel, but I
Yeah.
definitely like performing. It's funny because it's like I'm more nervous to perform than to like write
Mm.
and go to the studio, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm very nervous, but it's like once I get on that stage and
Yeah.
see that people is there just to
Yeah.
like they're literally like sitting in
Mm.
their seats
Yeah.
waiting for
Mm.
you to
Yeah.
deliver your message, deliver your art, and it's
Yeah.
like wow, that's something like I really got, even if it's 10 people here, they're literally like just waiting for me in this moment. And that's
Yeah.
something that's precious. Like it's so priceless too.
Yeah, it is, and it's daunting, exciting. There's an element of pressure. I think you mentioned pressure actually.
Yeah.
And you do put a lot of pressure on yourself. I also read that somewhere you had an interview. But obviously, the performance, once you're on there, you release all of that tension and then it's electric and you connect with the crowd. And
Yeah.
that's it. And you go nuts and that's it. And
Yeah.
I've seen you perform. You're amazing. I've
Yeah.
seen some earlier stuff and I've compared it with some later stuff. What a leap. There was a leap at one point, and I can't remember where you were in one of them, but wow, you were giving all the moves and everything, and it was just really quite inspiring. Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing. You don't look nervous one bit. Let me tell you that you don't. Not at all. Not at
Yeah.
all.
I will say
Yeah.
this. Shout outs to the shout outs to the liquor called tequila. That's what I want to say.
Amazing.
It helps. Definitely helps. So yeah,
Oh, of course. Yeah, it's the occupational hazard that.
right.
Yes.
Oh man.
So let's look at the pressure bit for a minute, right? Because I know artists are very particular. They're very, I would say, perfectionists, actually. Would you call yourself something of a perfectionist?
Yes.
Mm.
I will call myself that, but I will let people know that I'm not perfect. Even when, like, when it comes to like recording or writing,
Mm.
you know, even Leonardo da Vinci wasn't
Mm.
perfect. Like even the
Oh,
people
yeah.
you would, nobody was. So it's like, we have our own standards of like
Mm.
perfection.
Mm.
And I feel like once we hit that and feel that internally within ourselves, especially as
Mm.
artists,
Yeah.
that's when we feel confident to deliver whatever we have, like whatever
Mm.
content we have to
Yeah.
to the world.
Mm.
So yeah, I will.
Mm.
Yeah, I'll definitely call myself one of the perfectionists.
A
In the world.
perfectionist because you have high expectations of yourself, and
Mhm.
you're not going to be happy to release something until you've gone over it and over it and over, and it is exactly as you want it. And this can drive you mad, can't it? Really, I mean, let's face it, it can drive you nuts.
Trust me, I deal with that every single day. Like,
Yeah,
I tell people, like, nope,
yeah.
I deal with that all the time, especially when it comes to my
Mm.
music. And the worst is when you are a perfectionist
Oh,
and you have writer's block or
oh,
something's just like in your way. It's the worst.
it's horrendous, and this is it, yeah, when you're an artist, you're making art, you're a musician, you're a writer, you're a performer. I mean, it's just so much to deal with, isn't there? I mean, let's face it, there is a lot to deal with there. So, okay, so let's look at the performance. Right, you've done the performance. We've talked about the nerves and how you get over that. What about when you're recording? I've seen that you say it's a bit challenging sometimes, the recording process, depending on the song. What do you mean by that? What's the
um,
challenging part when you're recording?
what's challenging, I would say, when recording is that it's like you
Mhm.
know what you want to say, right? Like as
Mm.
far as like the if you're singing, if you're doing melodic or harmonizing, you know what you want to say. But it's like it's not until you go into the studio and you hope that your engineer or the different
Mm.
or all the engineers you work with, you
Yeah.
know, here's exactly what you want to manifest. So
Yeah.
I feel like that's the hardest part is that, that's one
Mm.
of the hardest parts at the top is that, the recording, because there's times where I wrote songs and I wanted to sound the way it did, and it might have been close, but
Mm.
like going back to what you were saying with perfectionists, it's
Mm.
like, once you got into that studio and
Mm.
let's say your your studio time becomes up and your engineer did everything he could to make it
Right.
sound 100%, you know,
Yeah.
but that it was like 80,
Mm.
but it's still good. So
Yeah.
I feel like, from what you originally wrote, because there's times when I'm in my house, like I said, and I write and I'm
Mm.
like, yes, it's going to sound perfect like this. But once I
Mm.
go in the studio, it sounds not completely different or halfway different, but just that little bit will still like
Yeah.
irritate you.
Oh, yes. There's the perfectionist coming out again,
Yeah.
and it sounds like you mentioned about. I'm sure you just mentioned about the time limit. There's the elements of working against the clock. So when you book out the
Hmm.
studio, you've got a certain time frame to do these to record it in.
Yeah.
That must stifle also in some way. I mean, if you had all the time in the world and you can go back again and again and again, maybe there'd be an element of being more relaxed. But the fact that you've got a time limit, do you feel that can be a pressure as well?
I feel like it can, but
Mm.
for me, I what I do is like I make sure before I go into the studio, whether it's collaborating with another person, we're
Mm.
gonna meet at the studio. I make sure to write down my hook or verse or my songs before I go into the studio. So I try to figure out other ways where I can like not say save time, but give it more time for the engineer too,
Mm.
because he
Mm.
still needs time to like quick to mix it up and stuff. So I try to like be like, all right, and I've got better with that as far as like not rushing
Mm.
myself, but like knowing how to finish in a timely manner, but
Yeah.
also knowing that I want this to sound like this. So I
Yeah.
think it's a hard balance, but you got to try
Mm.
to do your best to do both. But
Mm.
to answer your question,
Mm.
yeah, that's definitely pressure, and even
Mm.
when you figure out the timely manner, it's still that's why I try to prep before I go into
Yeah. Yeah.
the studio.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
know how much I'm booking for, so it's like if I know I
Yeah.
can do this song in this amount of
Mm.
time, and this, I'm not gonna try to be like, all right, I need to like do 3 songs or 4 songs in 2 hours. That's not like you see what I'm saying. Even if you prep beforehand,
Yeah.
because again,
Yeah.
back to recording, you don't know
Yeah.
how it's gonna actually
No.
sound. You might
No.
have developed everything in your head, but
Yeah.
until you
Yeah.
actually deliver it to the
Yeah.
microphone,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
you just don't know. So
Yeah.
you just
No.
have to have all of that,
Yeah.
all of those thoughts go on.
Yeah, all these skills, they're all skills. And obviously, the more you do it, and you've been doing it for some years now, obviously, you've
Yes.
obviously gotten more comfortable with that. And you sit with, it becomes less daunting, doesn't it? I guess. So, okay, that's interesting. So, when it comes to your writing, tell me about your writing. I mean, rapping isn't really my genre. It's not my forte. I don't know enough about this. I come from a whole other background. Um, there's a lot of improv in rapping. Do you improv, or do you write? Do you both? I mean, how does it work for you? Tell me a little bit
I
about
do
that.
both, but for
Yeah.
me, like I write first. Like writing is like the main thing. And how I write is I start off with a hook, a
Yeah.
chorus. So that's how I start off, because I know one thing about me is that like even my engineers and producers tell me, they said sometimes you write too much. Like I'm one of those people that, because it's all depends on how I'm gonna say something, that might take up 2 more seconds.
Yeah.
And when I wrote it,
Right.
it's like
Okay.
all of it fit. So it's one of
Yeah.
those things where it's like
How
it
interesting.
it becomes I would say, a little difficult, but
Yeah.
uh, I love it.
That's very interesting. You're talking about timing in seconds, rather than frames and beats, and about cramming in lots of words. And I mean, it's very clever. It is. You have to be very skilled to speak it. I mean, speak fast and actually say things. Do you do that quite a bit as well?
Well,
I mean,
I
I've
don't
heard you
try to
rapping,
like,
but
yeah, I don't try to like fit in like all too much, because sometimes
yeah,
my engineer, he would like stop me. But like people like Eminem and all of the, I don't
yes,
know how they do it. That's like a skill
yeah,
to fit
yeah,
everything into one. But
yeah,
like I'm more of a storyteller anyway, so it's like,
yeah.
I
Mm,
I, I like to sit with something and really just like I said, and just free flow. And then once I'm in the studio, and
mm,
let's say like I have to, there's so many times where like I finished the verse, and I had like 4 more lines left, and I just like
mm,
cut off or use that for something else that would make
mm-hmm,
sense with it. But
mm,
it I
mm,
that's part of the process though.
mm,
You, like
mm,
I tell people, that's part of the process. But I
mm,
love writing. I feel like writing is like the hugest part of
mm.
making a song. I
Yeah.
feel like it's the hugest part, because that's going back to my story,
Yeah.
foundation. You
Yeah.
can build off a foundation, for
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, what kind of stories have you told? I mean, I've heard, for example, I heard one of your songs, "Elevate." Elevate.
Yes.
That's really nice. Elevate. So that's
Yeah.
tell me about that and what that meaning is, and where did you get that from? What was your inspiration for writing that?
Oh man.
Yeah.
Uh, wow. I'm loving these questions.
Yeah.
That My inspiration came
Mm,
from really just being here in New York City. And at the time,
yeah.
like I said, 2018, 2019, I was, even 2016, 2017, I was doing a lot of open mics and stuff. But really 2018, 2019 is where I started expanding to like travel and perform, even if it's at other bars or like open mics there, or that, just where I
Amazing.
can just feel free to like, to present my art.
Mm,
So it really started, like that inspiration came from here in New York City. I was like, when I was working, I just
yeah.
always felt like you have to evolve and elevate every
Yes.
single day, especially in this city or like big cities like New York, where it's like there's no sympathy, empathy, nothing. No matter what situation, who you are, which class you're in, you just have to,
Mm,
evolve and elevate. And
mm,
at that time, I was just like looking at LeBron and getting deep into
mm.
my health and wellness.
Yeah.
So I was just like looking at LeBron James, and I was like, man, this guy is like in the finals every year. This guy is
Mm,
I always thought that, but it's like I
mm,
really like looked at it, in
mm.
depth. And I was
Yeah.
like, man, this guy's really elevating. I gotta elevate. I gotta get financial freedom. I gotta, just all of these things
Right.
becoming more in tune with the universe. And
Yes.
Elevate was one of those songs. And like I said, I was still performing different places. So
Mm,
I'll feel bad about myself, like, dang, performing here, people liking it, but
mm.
it's not really like grabbing like target audience. So I
Yeah.
was just like, elevate. This is what life's about.
Yeah.
Elevate, elevate. So
Elevate. So it's like elevate, like moving up in the world as well. It
yeah.
kind of has a double meaning. It feels like you want to elevate to move up in the world, but
Hmm.
also you're elevating your soul on a higher plane as well. Because you mentioned the
100%.
universe. You mentioned the universe. I'm feeling that you're quite a spiritual person. That's what I'm feeling.
Yes,
You're
yes.
in touch with your,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
super,
Yes.
super
I know.
spiritual.
I know. Yes,
Thank
so
you.
am I.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
yeah, I
really,
can see it. I can see it, Elle. I can see it. And you've mentioned something here about your music. It's about showing your spirit and your soul, isn't it? You're
yes.
showing that, and you want to put your stories across. You want to touch people. And what is it you want to actually achieve with your music, with reaching people? What's your message to the people that you're actually? I mean, is it to elevate themselves, to feel better, to heal? Is it a bit of everything? What's your feelings on that?
Yeah.
What do you
Uh,
want for your audiences?
Number one, I would say is, of course, to like, a bit of everything,
Mm,
but the core, I want people to to get inspired. I
yeah,
want them to feel inspiration from it.
yeah.
And I want to, I'm not gonna lie, I want to be immortalized with
Okay.
my words, with my quotes.
Yeah.
So, like, cause I feel like I have
Yeah.
a
I,
story to tell. I have stories to tell. So I just want to leave my imprint on people's lives in in an inspirational way. And I
yeah.
hope they take
Yes.
what they hear and
Yeah.
use it for therapy for themselves,
Yeah.
and also spread it to others that might need it. And
Okay.
we all could need some spiritual healing through music. No matter what's the music, but I feel like what I'm doing in this day and age in hip hop and rap, I feel
Yeah.
like it's very needed. So that's
Mm,
that's why I want people to just be inspired,
yeah.
heal themselves through my music, and
Mm,
also heal other people with my
mm,
words, and let it
yeah.
live on forever, even after I'm gone.
Absolutely right. Amen to that.
Yes.
Absolutely. And you have so many quotes. There's one here, no struggle, no progress. No
Yeah.
struggle, no progress. That's one of yours, isn't it? I know you got inspiration from others on this,
Yes,
but
yes. I was
but
about to
this
say that.
is yeah,
I have to give them credit. Definitely, I
I
would
know
say
that.
number one, Frederick Douglass, and I
Yeah,
also went to one of the Frederick Douglass schools here in high
yeah.
school and here in the Bronx.
Mm,
So
mhm.
I got that quote from him even before I went to that school, which was
Yeah,
I just felt like, again, the
yeah.
universe aligned that.
Of
Uh,
course. Yes,
so
100%. Yeah.
Frederick Douglass is the first one that came up with that, and then of course Carmelo Anthony, because that was
Mhm.
one of my favorite basketball players growing up,
Mm,
especially when he was here on the New York Knicks basketball team. It
yeah.
was like
Mm.
big.
Yeah, wow, wow. I mean, yeah, it's amazing. It's incredible. But this, that no struggle, no progress. Do you truly believe that? Like you have to what are you trying to say with that? Are you saying put the work in and then you make progress? Is that kind of what you're saying? Or are you talking a bit deeper about life experiences and the struggles in life and the progress there? I mean, how do you think that sits? How does that sit with you personally, actually?
I would say it's a mixture. It's a mixture of both.
Yeah.
It's a
Mm,
mixture of both, but
yeah.
really with real life, because once you get, you know, once you have struggled or experienced some type of struggle, I feel like
Mm,
you come out a greater being. Um,
yeah.
I feel like you look at things differently, you circle different, all type of like things. You just start looking at life different in general. You know,
Hmm.
like this, like all right, if this dog is wobbling because his foot, hurt,
Mm.
but he still is pushing. He still is, or she is still
Yeah.
pushing. Because
Yeah.
I've seen that before. Like that's what I tell people. I look
Mm.
deep into things. So it's like,
Yeah.
I've seen like dogs
Mm.
wobble and they,
Yes. Yep.
but
Yep.
they're still pushing, or different
Yeah.
type of animals. So I feel
Mm.
like the
Yeah.
struggle, make you
Yeah.
become a greater person, and then
Yeah.
you will see some progress, even if it's
Yeah.
step by step, like even
Yeah.
if it's half of a step,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
sometimes I have to tell myself this too. So it's
Yeah.
not just, telling other people. I tell
Yeah.
myself this too, and that's why I just feel like that just put it into
Yeah.
simple terms of like no struggle, no progress. Because
Right.
if you haven't felt no type of struggle,
Yeah.
how can you know what real progress is? I
Yeah.
feel like with
True.
just anybody.
Mm.
So yeah,
Mm.
that's what that
Yeah.
means for me.
Yeah, yeah. Amazing, amazing. You're so positive, El. You're such a positive person. And
Thank
just
you.
and
I try.
despite
I try.
no, you're amazing. You're an amazing soul. And you are an inspiration to people, everybody, to keep going. It's basically it's covered the whole message of all the information I've seen, your music. It's just saying persevere. I mean, I even wrote it down. I mean, keywords, okay? Struggle, strength, perseverance, heart and soul, and healing. They are
Mm,
5 words that I put that I kind of saw as you as a whole, as holistically, actually, that it feels like that's your message to everybody is you keep
yeah.
going. It's for the greater good. And what I love about your music and the rapping is that there's actually no aggression in there. You're coming out with real positive statements and keep going. It's a fight. It feels like it's a fight. Life is a fight,
You,
isn't it?
yeah. You know why too? Because I'm also. It's like. It's like I'm also talking to myself if I'm in the mirror, right? Like Michael Jackson said, "Man in the mirror." It's like,
Yeah.
I'm also letting other people know, but this is me telling
Hmm.
myself that too as well.
Mm.
Like because I slip up a lot,
Yeah.
and I'll be like, I'll be down on myself, I'll be hard on
Yeah.
myself, and I'm like, no, you gotta elevate, no, you gotta, like
Yeah.
sometimes I have to go back and watch my own, like people don't
Yeah.
understand, like it's really uh,
Yeah.
um it's really like a talking to, it's like talking to your
Mm.
mind, but
Hmm.
also talking to other people that can relate to this or that's going
Yeah.
through this,
Yeah.
so they can
Yeah.
use those same words and
Mm. Mm.
identify with themselves.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's funny. You and I have that in common too. One of our favorite artists, Michael Jackson. I actually sing that song, "Man in the
Yeah.
Mirror." It's
Well,
ah,
that's one
wonderful.
of my favorite songs by him, and
Yeah,
that's my favorite
absolutely.
artist of all time.
Me too. Oh, I
Like,
saw that. I was like, right, great. Let's talk about MJ. You
yeah,
know, I mean, what do you love about Michael? Like I say, the most. It's really difficult. I mean, because I mean, his voice is incredible. His dancing, the songs. I mean, what draws you to him and his music? What
oh
pulled
my
you?
god,
Yeah, go on,
wow.
spill it.
That question is so hard to answer
Go
because it's
on,
like,
El.
I mean, his drive and his passion, his
Yeah,
dedication too to
yeah,
adapt to the changes, right? And
yeah,
his presence is so like
yeah,
like I could
mm,
imagine if I would have
yeah,
saw him in person, but like just seeing
yeah,
him on TV on BT as a kid,
yeah,
like his presence was just like no other,
mhm,
like no other. As soon as he
yeah,
stepped on the stage, and then at that time there
yeah,
was no social media, nothing. So
yeah,
you feel like he
mm,
was like what Michael Jordan was in basketball. He was
mm,
just like
mm,
so bodily. Like when you see him, like
yeah,
I don't believe into like worshiping celebrities and
mm,
all of that,
mhm,
but like he's one person where I would can say that I actually like
yeah,
worship, like from a
yeah,
kid, even
yeah,
just from a kid, like without even knowing. So I
mm,
feel like his presence,
mm,
and
yeah,
his
yeah,
message is so powerful. Like he
mm,
will have like house songs or nice pop songs, but the
mm,
messages inside of there was
yeah,
very
yeah,
you
yeah.
know very powerful.
Yes,
So
yes. Yeah. Yeah.
It's really everything.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. No, beautifully
go
put.
into
Beautifully put there, El.
yeah,
Beautifully put. And I think the first word that you actually came up with was passion. You know, at the
yeah,
end of the day, it's passion,
yeah.
isn't it? You know, would you say that's driving you and your music too? That passion?
Yes, 100%. Like I keep telling myself,
Yeah.
even I say it on my next album on Cursed and
Yeah.
Bled, I tell myself that I'll be want to give up on this. I just be like, oh, is it worth it? I put it on these hours. I put it on this time. I put it on this money. Like, just all
Mm,
factors. And you're like,
mm,
is it worth it? Sometimes you reevaluate things and be like, is it worth it? So, but it's the
mm.
passion. It's something like I'm always like, even if I'm just like an instrumental come on, I might just play around or be cooking or something. And I was just it's just
Yeah.
randomly like come up with words and I'm just like, oh, here you go. Like it's still in you. It's installed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that's why I keep going. That's why I like connecting with people
Yeah.
like you, different,
Amazing.
individuals that want to see artists shine and want to
Yeah.
uplift also, and just guide
Absolutely.
them with their knowledge and
Yeah.
just hear.
Mm,
So
mm, mm.
I would definitely say that's a super yes twice.
Yeah, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. El, there's something else I'm going to bring up here. You talk about your main goal in life is to travel and expand music. That I read somewhere. Okay. So can you tell me a little bit more about, well, first of all, the travel. Where do you want to travel to?
Oh my God.
Where do you want to go?
That's funny because oh man, I wanted to go to Rome so bad. I
Ah,
I want to just say that I want to go to Rome because
okay.
first and foremost, the Colosseum. I want to go
Oh,
there so bad. Like, but I don't want to go there with all the tourists is there like that. Like,
mm,
because you gotta understand, like I'm very, like we were saying earlier, I'm very spiritual. So like for
mm,
me, I want to really grasp that all in because I'm really a fan of like Spartacus, gladiators and stuff. Same thing if I went to like Greece,
yeah.
like or like the Red Sea, or I forgot to
Mm,
see where the Persians battle. But like basically, I
wow.
would really like soak all of that up and because I just feel like when you connect it from a distance and then when you actually get up close, I feel
Yeah.
like it's something that just like come into like your soul, yeah, like
Yeah.
you feel it more, right? So
Yeah.
definitely Rome. And I always said when I was 16, when I was in history class with a
Mm,
teacher named Ms. Gerke, like she had the Coliseum on her wall. And at the time, like I was saying, I was homeless, sleeping different places, still trying to go to school. So I'm like, I'm always angry every day or aggravated, right?
mm,
So,
mm.
so I will always just look at that poster, like just always.
Wow.
I want to go, and I told her one day too. I was like, I'll probably never go to Rome. Probably, she's like, no, you're gonna go one day.
You're
She was
gonna
like,
go
no,
one day, yeah.
she
And
just
not
kept
only that,
encouraging me, like Elliot, like you're
yeah,
gonna go, like stop. But she didn't
you're
know my
going.
situation, so like for me,
Wow.
you gotta understand in that moment, everything
Mm,
seemed so impossible.
yeah,
But
yeah,
that's number one though. So
yeah.
that
Sounds.
I'm sorry I took up the time, but I had to say that story.
I love it. I love the fact that you did, and I love that little story there because that really ties it all together. It makes sense,
Mhm.
You were looking at that poster, and that was a place that you kind of. It sounds like you did a little mental escape there and then, looking at
Yes.
the poster, and it stayed with you. And now you want to put it into a reality. I mean, wouldn't it be amazing if you actually shot a video there? Wouldn't that be
Yeah, to
amazing?
be honest, I have a camera now. I'm like, because I'm into acting and stuff
Yeah.
now too. So,
Oh, great.
well, for the
Yeah.
past year, so it's like now, like that, I got my own camera now. Outside of
Yeah.
like just doing background acting and stuff on real films,
Oh,
I'm like,
fab.
if I
Yeah.
go travel these places, not only am I gonna do
Wow.
like a music video, probably do
Yeah.
like a short film or something. Like I'm
Mm.
just trying to expand like mentally of like all of
Yeah.
the things that's I
Mm.
could possibly do, especially
Yeah.
when I go to places like that. Because like I said,
Yeah.
I'm like a fan of Spartacus. I'm already a fan of like
Wow.
Rome. Like I'm like
Mm.
I always tell people I'm like an upcoming Renaissance man. Like I'm so obsessed with that era and what Black Moors contribute to in that era too as well, like the Renaissance era. Like so, yeah, like I'm into art,
Why?
all of that.
Where do you think that comes from? I mean, is that just because of history lessons, or do you think there's something a bit more than that? Are you like are you reincarnated or something?
uh,
Maybe you never know. You
yeah, you never know.
don't know.
I
Why?
history introduced it to me,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
it wasn't until I did my own education
Right. Yeah.
on a lot of this stuff. So like,
Mm,
yes, I got introduced by it, by just being in school, but it
mm,
wasn't until I actually looked in depth and seen like, all right, yes, a lot of wickedness and evilness that went on
yeah.
back then. I'm not gonna
Oh,
speak on, but
yeah.
you know, I
Mm,
definitely know that the good that came out of a lot of that
mm,
uh stuff from those times, like the art,
mm,
the science, the really the art for me is the arts,
yeah.
the plays, the films, the
Yeah.
just how dedicated people were into like creating stuff,
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
just feel like that was one of probably the greatest times on earth when it came to like introducing like a different level of like historic art and
Mm,
historic plays and films,
yeah.
like
It's
when it comes
amazing.
to
Yeah.
arts.
Yeah.
So
Wow, it's very specific, and you know exactly what you want to do and where you want to go. And oh, I would love it if you could go there, and then we could get back together again and have a good old chat about that and see how
yeah,
that was.
and
That
I
would be
definitely
amazing.
want to come to the UK too. That's
Oh
another. I,
yes, you
yes,
need to.
I was supposed to come a few times. That's the
Yeah,
crazy part. Like so I
yeah.
definitely want to come to and post up on the London Bridge. Like, hey, I'm
Oh, that would
here.
be amazing. That would be amazing. You really need to. So, oh, that's great. So, I mean, I'm looking at some of the stuff here. Gosh, right. Got a few more questions here. Okay.
Okay.
So, you've overcome plenty of struggles in your life and obstacles, right? Did you have mental breakdowns along the way? Was that part something that you actually went through? Because I did read something about mental breakdowns. Did you struggle with that kind of mental health? Because one of the things that I'm really, really interested in, and one of the things I want to highlight for artists, hence caring for musicians, caring for artists, is that actually we go through stuff and we do break down occasionally, and we're trying to give out to people. We're trying to give our best, and we are giving so much of ourselves. But what about the mental breakdowns, and what about us, how we psychologically dealing with things? Have you experienced difficulties on that level at any time? Anytime?
Yeah, I
Mm,
definitely have mental breakdowns. I still have them.
mm,
Like I said, I'm not a perfect being. I got better with it.
mm.
But it still is a big effect on me.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so like that's why I always talk about
Mm,
mental health. I say it in my music.
yeah.
I even
Mm,
was a brand ambassador for Mental Health Matters company that was, I
yeah.
think, located in Boston. So like I I struggle with it a lot.
Yeah.
I'm doing better now, but I would say
Mm,
that especially if you are a creator, or artist, or
yeah.
actor, or whatever, but
Mm,
especially as an artist, because
yeah.
there's so much that comes with the industry, even as an independent artist.
Yeah.
This more, I think,
Yeah.
because it's like easy to try to overlook you, right, or try to,
Yeah.
get you into deals or all of that type of stuff.
Mm,
So I feel like
mm,
how I dealt with it was I would use infrared saunas to meditate.
mm.
I would try to like stay off social media. It's hard,
Right.
but like I would check it and then get right off. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would
Mm,
talk to
mm.
my two mentors,
Okay.
Christian and
Mm,
Siobhan, also my collaborator, Christian,
yeah.
so I would like talk to him,
Yeah.
or talk to her. And then I still do. Like I
Good.
still like even this morning I
Good.
had to talk with my friend.
Great.
He's performing tonight and I had to
Yeah.
like text him. I was like, man, I don't so
Yeah.
like I said, I still deal with them.
Yeah.
But you have to, I would say, and I go to the water, but since in New York
Oh.
it's cold right now, but
Mm,
that's one of my main things is like going to the water. But I
yeah.
still deal with them. So I would
Yeah.
just say that you have to
Yeah.
like seek and search for
Yeah.
what you feel can really work and try things out.
Mm,
I don't
mm,
always recommend a therapist because it's not always beneficial to
mm.
everybody or
Yeah.
to that person in that particular time. Some
Hmm.
people even feel more crushed after a therapy
Mm.
session. So
Yep.
I've talked with
Hmm.
people that have. So,
Yep. Mm.
it's one of those things where you just have
Yep.
to figure out what works for you. And as an
Yes.
artist,
Mm.
I would just
Mm.
say that, just try to figure it out. Easier said than done, though.
Yeah, no, good advice, Al. And it's interesting you mentioned, just picking up on that, about the industry, the record industry, or it's so tough, isn't it? And
Yeah.
that the way you see yourself, the way they see you, and you get knockdowns along the way, and you've got to build yourself up. I mean, would you say that that impacts on mental health as well? Would you agree with that?
Yes, 100%. I
Yeah.
feel like the whole
Mm.
music business,
Yeah.
it's like it definitely, affect your
Mm.
mental health, because now
Mm.
you start overthinking. Now you start thinking, like I was saying, like, is it worth it? Is it not? Like your mind start playing tricks on you, and then you're about to go into like lash out mode, or like,
Yeah.
just so many different things that can
Yeah.
just trigger
Yeah.
off of that.
Yes. Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
it's
I mean, the thing is that
hard.
yeah, no, as you get older, I think, and as you get more experience, it becomes easier because you've been there and you know that you can always revisit it. But I guess I'm thinking also for the younger generation as well, who, you will be a mentor one day for someone younger who is, an aspiring rap artist, and this is important advice, isn't it, really? And that social media as well, which has always worried me. It's that self-image, you're under a microscope, aren't you, really?
Yeah.
Scrutinized, and some of the comments can be quite, well, let's say hurtful, to put it in real layman's terms.
Yeah.
Um, and it can be difficult. But yeah, and thank you for sharing that with me. One other question I'm going to ask you. What does success look like for you?
uh,
Have a think.
Success. Uh, well, for me, it first is just being free. Right, like being free. Like, shout out to J. Cole, one of my favorite artists. Today's his birthday, January 28th. But I just want to say that, like, he got a song called "Be Free," right?
Yeah.
And basically, I would say that's the number one thing of like being success. And you could break that down into sub things, right? As far as like financial freedom, that's part of
Yeah.
freedom. Like, free mentally from you know negative thoughts, right?
Mm.
You want to just be free from the music industry of the BS that come with it, which makes it harder for a creator to create. Uh, so I would say ultimately it's free, just
Mm.
from all of the shenanigans that go on in life and the world.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's ultimately for me. It's just like freedom. It's just
Yes.
freedom.
Yeah.
So that's what success looked like to me. Escaping
Wonderful.
poverty, escaping, escaping like
Mm.
your environment, knowing that
Yeah.
you might love your environment, but you have to escape it, because even if you try to stay out
Mm.
the way, there's some type of confrontation or something that's going to happen,
Mm.
or that might possibly happen. So
Mm.
so you just have to. I would just
Mm.
say be free,
Yeah,
and that's
that's
literally what I'm working on right now. All of those
wonderful.
things that I'm talking about, just
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
free from it all.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you can find that place spiritually. You can find that within,
Yeah,
can't you? You
yes,
know.
that's definitely a big
Yeah.
one. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
being free
Mm.
internally,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, that's something that
Yeah.
people have to work on, and we all
Yeah.
have to work on.
Yeah, we've all got something to work on. Absolutely,
Yeah,
100%. Oh, yeah. But
yeah,
that's a very, very humble answer, actually, because, a lot of people say, well, success for me is all the money in the world, rich and famous, and nah, no,
I don't care. Like,
no.
listen, I'm
Yeah,
an introvert, but I know how to turn on
yeah,
to be an extrovert too. Like, I have that
yeah,
switch, and
yeah,
I don't care about the
yeah,
fame. If and I don't care about billion. That's why, like, my
yeah.
next album, I got a song called Feelings, where I said I don't
Wow.
care about the billions, as long as I can help some children and some elders.
Yeah,
It's one of those things where it's like,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
you just want to be free from,
yeah.
like, oh, so you
Yes.
won't have to
Yeah,
second think, like, all right, if I want to
yeah.
travel, dang, I don't have
Mm,
this money because I had to pay the rent
mm,
and I ain't have no leftover or security, just stuff like that, where you don't have to, like,
mm.
you could just get up and go freely without,
Yes.
the
Yeah,
hassle of things, and
yeah,
the
yeah.
breakdowns.
Yes.
that come with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. 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 And like you say, it's all about, yeah, yeah, that freedom is just, it's so humble the way you've said that. And it really is very down to earth. You're a real down to earth person, aren't you?
Yeah,
And you've been through
yes,
so much, and that groundedness. But that's great because that's rich. Actually, that is what makes
yeah,
you rich, isn't
yeah.
it?
Shout out
Yeah.
to Bob Marley. He definitely said that too.
There you go. I didn't even know that. So there you go.
Yeah, he definitely said that too.
Good, Bob.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah,
It's
amazing,
true.
amazing. And I guess I was just reading something I've written here. Just one more thing, really. You say I give people the real me. You really do, don't you?
Yes,
Yeah.
like in my music, I can't. That's
Mhm.
why I can't give. Like when it comes to music, I would never want a ghostwriter or someone to
Yeah.
write a song for me. Even though they do that a
Mm,
lot in the industry, I just feel
mm,
like I
mm,
can't do that because first and
mm.
foremost, I'm not gonna know how to record something that I didn't write. Like that's
Yeah.
just not gonna happen. I don't.
Mm.
If you got a skill for that, you can.
Yeah.
But that's just not me, and I'm not gonna
Yeah.
feel right releasing that song.
Mm.
Just feel like my name's behind it.
Yeah.
So I have to
Mm.
write all of my music, and that's why
Mm.
I give people the real me when
Yeah.
I have interviews. When
Yeah.
you, it's always better when people see me in person, they see my length, they see,
Mm.
they feel my presence because,
Yeah.
people could get caught up in social media and,
Mhm.
try to,
Yeah.
fabricate things,
Yeah.
be funny or, just switch on you or you're like, wow. But in person, you felt my presence. So like,
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
I would say,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
it's,
No,
it's that.
that's yeah, amazing. Elle, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. I've
Thank you.
thoroughly enjoyed speaking with you. Thank you so much for coming, and
Uh,
I wish you all the success in the world. I can't wait to hear your next album. I am so excited to hear your next album.
Thank
Um,
you. Thank you.
and I will be advertising your links and everything to help you get there too. It's
Thank
my
you. I
pleasure.
appreciate that.
And really, thank you so much, and God bless you, and all the best.
Yes. Same to
Okay.
you. Be in touch.
Thank you.
Yes. Take care.